Hello, greetings. Sawadee ka. Welcome to Art Conspiracy. I'm Amy, and today I want to share with you a process of sort of working on portraits, taking them to the next level after the initial layer of watercolor. I'm making this video for my students as a follow-up for our class, and I thought I might share it with the general public because there's some things here that I think everyone can use and benefit from. So let's get started. Okay, make here real quick. Okay, so here is our subject. And here is my initial paper. My class, this was last week's project, but what happens sometimes with watercolor is, you do a brave, bold first layer, and then it's the color sort of fades and sinks, and it really depends on your paper and other factors. But sometimes it's really great to let it dry and come back in with another layer. And what my plan is I'm going to do another layer of sort of flesh tone. Maybe punch up the values in the hair and the hat even. We'll see how it goes. It's not critical because this is very dramatic, light and dark, and I've already got that. But I'm going to do that. But the thing I really want to do is I want to fix these eyes because I have some trouble with these eyes. This one doesn't quite match, and the pupil or the iris is too big. So I'm going to tweak that. I'm going to show you some tools, the mixed media methods that I use to try to tweak portraits, because watercolor is challenging enough and portraiture is pretty challenging. And I think especially when you're learning, it's great to give yourself the opportunity to use other things, bring other things in. Don't be a purist. Don't be like, oh, I have to only use watercolor, like maybe someday, but make it work. I mean, especially with a portrait, I think your goal is to try to achieve likeness. And so whatever it takes to do that. Okay. So anyway, that's my little pep talk. So I'm going to sort of do the reverse order. Usually I take the watercolor as far as I can, and then I come in with my drawing media on top. In this case, I'm going to actually do the tweaks, do the little tweaks, and then I'm going to do the watercolor. And the reason is I don't want to have to wait for it to dry on this video to then do the part that I meant to do to begin with. So I feel like I'm rambling. Okay. So we're going to focus on these eyes. So I'm going to try to get in a little tighter so you can see what's going on. I mean, this is a perfectly fine piece of art. It's just because it's a portrait class, we're really focusing on details. I like to say the devil is in the details, and I really mean that because I'm not a real detail-oriented person. But sometimes you gotta work it. So, okay. One of the things I want to say, really listen up, this is important, is when I'm correcting, I usually make the correction first, and then I get rid of the old information. Rather than trying to obliterate what's there and do it again, it's a different process. You're tweaking the information and then getting rid of the old information. Okay, so I'm going to start. This eye is the closest, and I like it, but it's not shaped very well. So I'm coming in. Let's see what I got. Oh, always have like a little test sheet. This marker is a little too thick. Better. Okay, so I'm going to make this a little bit more on the down. And his eyes are really slanted, and the brows are slanted. That's very dramatic. So bringing this line down kind of pushes that idea. There you go. And I'm going to curve this up a little bit more and bring this line more in front of the bottom. And I want you to notice there's thickness here. I know it might be hard to see on the video, but on the lower eye, your eyelashes are actually here, and then there's like a ledge. And you don't have to draw it, but it's nice to know that it's there because it might affect how you use your color. Okay, so that's good. So now I want to make this rounder, this eyeball. So I'm going to do the new line. So now I got to get rid of that extra blue. And I'm going to use a little white media. And look, I have such control, you know, if you're doing this with a brush, forget about it. Oh, I might have made it too small and I can go back in. No problem. Okay, good. Yep, I made it too small, but when that dries, I can come back in. Meanwhile, I'm going to go over to the other one. And this is actually a little bit more slanted, but the, so you're going to go here, find this. There we go. And up. And I'm looking more at this eye than I am at the photo at this point, because I want these eyes to match, which they do. I mean, in the actual person, they match. I'm going to go up a little, down, under. Very good. Better already. I'm sort of shaping maybe a little eyelid or eyelashes there. Excuse me. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay, then I'm going to go back. I'm going to redraw. It's hard to get a perfect circle. I'm like almost drawing a circle, but I'm not putting the pen down on the top. But you see how I'm pretending I am? It's a good strategy. Okay, and now this is pretty dry. Oh, actually not quite. I'm not going to go for it anyway. This is actually a little bit lower too. I mean, this is like that little teeny tiny detail drive you crazy, but you got to do it as many times as it takes to get it right. You know? There we go. Drawing another circle. Already way better than it was when I started. Okay, this one looks a tiny bit bigger. Yeah. Do I care? Maybe. I don't know. Got to pick your battles. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit more white here, and the eyelid cast a little shadow, which is so nice. So it doesn't have to be perfectly flat white in these eyes, you know, you can have some variations. As a matter of fact, I have a little sort of a, looks like a little bit of a shadow. On this one, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little bit more there too. Look at that. It's so cool. It's like hooded. Okay, and then I'm going to add also a little extra warmth. You can see how it's warm under the eyes. So this is like pretty bright orange, but it sort of disappears, you know. Do bold things, because I'm telling you, you think they're strong and then they sort of stink into the paper and it's like, what happened? Be bold. Warm tones. Yeah, good. Nice. I like it better already. Here too. This eye still looks a little bit too big. I'm gonna, look at that. Tweak that ball slightly with another white line. Hard to get perfectly round, but do your best. Good. Okay. The other thing too, like I have this is a correction, an earlier correction, and it looks a little cool and it should be more warm. So I can try to fix that with the watercolor paint, which I'll try to do. The other thing is I want to tweak the nose. Like I like my nose pretty good, but I'm going to tweak it with a little teeny tiny brown tool. And I'm going to just make these nostrils a little bit more delicate. It's not even so much the nostrils as what's around the nostrils. A little extra ala here. Good. Oh yeah. I mean, it's such a tiny little correction, but it really does make a difference. Devil's in the details, baby. Okay. And then I'm going to not use my really warm one. I might even use this gray marker and then do a little similar. Good. Now there is a mark in the photo, but that's not really why I'm doing this. It's mostly because I want that nose to really come forward, which everything you do with the nose is in service of making it come forward. It really is. Okay, that looks pretty good. I could maybe tweak the mouth a little, but it's darker. I don't want it to get too dark. I don't want it to look like he has lipstick on. Okay. And there's like some things here. Anyway, I'm gonna let that dry. I'm gonna come back with the paint later, but I already improved this greatly. Okay, number 2. Oh yeah, we got Danny DeVito, baby. Look at this guy. And again, typically I would do the watercolor first, let it dry, and then come in with my drawing supplies, but I'm going to do it backwards because you can. You can do the drawing stuff and you can do watercolor on top of it. The watercolor police will not show up at your door, contrary to some people. So anyway, I'm looking at this. I'm pretty good. I'm happy with my beginning. What I want to do with my drawing supplies is make the parting line of his lips more substantial and work on his eyes and some of the details around his eyes. Okay. His nose looks pretty good. I can work with my watercolor to tweak that, maybe add a little bit more warmth in his face. It looks a little bit yellow right now. So anyway, I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to use a ink pen. But for me, the parting line of the lips is so beautiful, such a beautiful, expressive line. And if you look at Danny here, here's the peak, the middle of his lip, and it's not in the middle of his face. His lips are really crooked. So I did pretty good here. I just want to check in myself now that I'm doing the extra line. Okay, and I'm going to make this a little darker. And any line I put is going to disappear a little bit when I paint. I'm going to go up and just define that a little bit more. Because this is going to disappear into the shadow. I don't make it all the way across. I could. But since I'm using ink, I want to really finesse this a little bit. Okay, good. You can also do a little darker under the nose. You can always sort of punch up again, making that nose come forward is your goal. So darkening that shadow a little is not a bad idea. Okay, on to the eyes. I'm going to check. I like his nose. I'm going to check where his eyes relative to the nose. I think I got him in the right spot. I also check up from the corner of the nostril, or the ala, not the nostril. It's called the ala. So good. Yeah, right there. Okay, location, location, location. Okay, there it is. And I'm going to pick it up over here, looking at the shape. Good. And it goes down well in front of the bottom of the eye. And look at, there's a really dark cast shadow in that eye. Okay. Good. And it's a little rounder at the bottom. Pretty nice. Okay. And okay, I'm gonna not do too much more than that. Okay, and then I'm gonna go up, check. I'm using my photo, I'm also using my brain, not just copying the photo. I'm looking at the corner. Here's the corner. This one looks a little bit higher because his head is tilted slightly. So I'm just gonna reintroduce. Whoa, look at that line, go over. And he's got pretty big pupils. And I'm making the dark line underneath because it's dark. I'll do that here too. Again, I'm gonna I'm seeing how much of the orb I can see, and this bottom edge actually cuts through. So you don't see the whole ball, the whole circle on the top or on the bottom. It has everything to do with the tilt of the head. Okay, and he looks like really wide-eyed right now, which looks weird, but keep the faith. Keep the faith. Okay, I'm gonna get really dark brown. I had to look it up on the internet to see what color eyes he had, because you can't tell in the photo. He's got brown eyes, so I'm gonna make it super dark. And again, he looks like really buggy right now. No worries. We're nowhere near done. Actually, while we're at it, I'm just gonna like do eyebrowness. I mean, he's got like some hairy things going on. It's so much fun to play. Once you have the base shape and color, to play with what's going on. There you go. Make it a little bit more hairy. Make it a little curlier up here. Oh yeah. Fun. Where does it peak? It's here. Eyebrowness. And I'm going to just do this right now before I forget, because this is pretty fun. He's got some little gray hairs. I'm just going to play with putting them in. They might disappear later, but there we go. Also, make this a little bit smaller with that line. And I'm probably going to have to redo that, but see, his eyes are getting smaller. Work on other things. And also the eyes are a solid shape, which is going to get better. Okay. So let's just be brave. Okay. I'm going to go ahead in with some warm tones. I'm using a colored pencil now. Okay. Even a little bit of a line. Then under here too with wrinkles. You don't want it to be too solid, you know, so you have to let them come and go, and don't be too solid. Oh yeah, it's happening. And also this is going to be darker, and I could do it with my watercolor too, but I'm going to go ahead and darken this. Okay, yeah. Good. And it's got a little wah, action going up there too. Oh yeah. What about over here? This is all really dark, and rather, there's a little tiny light at the top of his eye. Rather than work around that, I'm going to go right over it and then reintroduce it with a different tool. See that? Oh yeah. I mean, and if it's not perfect, then I just go back in with my marker and fix it. It's not permanent. Here I'm like making it a little bit more perfectly round. So good. Okay, we got some more. Not the same. This is the portraiture aspect of this. Okay, here we down here. Not done with this exactly, but here it's a little bit higher. Good. This guy's got a great face. So I'm just being a little bit brave. And I know it's not in the photo, but I also know that the tip of the nose is often a little bit warmer. So I'm going to add a little warmth with my colored pencil. You can also do it with your paint. So I went over here, I did a little warmth on the nose, and I'm like, oh, this could use a little bit more variation. You see that? It's not a solid line. It's a little bit of finesse. It can go all the way down, but it's not equally dark. Look at this dark area. Again, I can do it with the paint. And I will, but I'm also gonna just block some things in here. I'm gonna soften my line. That line sort of goes away. Make that a little bit darker. Shape, a little wrinkle, finesse it, picking up the darks down here. Hey, looking good. All this side will be a little bit darker here. Yeah. Okay, pretty good. Okay, so before I go to the watercolor, I'm going to tweak the eyes. I wanted to wait till make sure that it's dry, and I want to show you. I want to come in really quickly. The eyes are so important to portraiture. Right now, they're very flat, round. So I might take a different brown, like just very subtly. Let's see what this is. This is like looking for like a chocolate brown. This looks pretty good. And you might not be able to see this very well on the video, but I'm just modifying this so it has a little variation in life. It doesn't just look like, okay, it's better, trust me. I know it's hard to see on the video, but it's pretty good. I'm also making this a little rounder while I'm at it. And then the ever important little bit of light. Here he's got a little tiny dot. It's not really the light from the side of the face. It's more of the light probably from the photographer. So just know that you usually put the light not in the middle, but off to the side somewhere. And you can put these lights in various different ways. You can use colored pencil. I could use this. I'm going to do the light like here and here. Makes a big difference, doesn't it? It's like a little liquid light. And here, I'm going to go a little bit more under there. Give them a little bit of eyelid. And I can color this. So I'm making a pretty bold mark. Blending it into the eyebrow. You see that? But as I did it with white, and then I can color that. Here too, on a nice ring. Oh yeah, looking good, Danny. Looking good. And I definitely want to give a little bit more warmth to his lips when I go into the paint. Okay, even on a guy, I mean, the lips are going to be a little bit warmer. So let's do that. Okay. I'm using mostly very limited palette, ultramarine blue or another blue, Payne's gray, perhaps, and burnt sienna is my main colors. Very, very simple. So I got my tissue handy. I'm working very loose. Okay, come back over here. Very, very loose. I got a nice puddle. And I'm just going to do another round. And again, how much you can do so depends on the paper that you're using. But I'm going to go up here. I'm going to basically paint his whole flesh again. Another round. Whoop. Oh, look, I just smeared something. No problem. That's better. Look at that. It's already better. I'm going to just block out just the front. See that? Create that light. Also on his sort of the brow ridge, and then the tip of the nose. I don't want it to be too light. Okay, but that's better. And it's just a little symmetrical. I don't want that, so I'm going to tweak that a little bit more. Good. Very good. You know, I'm looking at this. His head is not quite as round as it is in the photo, but I'm not going to try to change that right now. Okay, anyway, I do want to get darker. I'm taking my burnt sienna, adding a little paint spray, pretty warm. Gonna be brave. Whoa. Drop in some of this dark. I got his little eyebrows there. They may or may not survive. I can make his face a little rounder. At this point, I'm gonna push this paint. Push it. And I'm gonna go underneath here. Up, and I'm not even dipping back into the well. I'm just increasing the value contrast with just the paint I've got. I can sop it up, see that, and make it softer. Push it in. More definition. Side of his nose. Oh, yeah. If I put it in very boldly, then I sort of try to tweak and make it softer. Use my brush. Sometimes I have to blot a little bit, or you can use a drier brush. Up to you. Push this. Oh, this is dark. It's brown. I can go right in there. No problem. And make this softer. Oh, good. And I'm using a really big brush, but sometimes I just use just the teeny tiny point. You can get very controlled, even with a big tool like this. And make sure it's keeping the structure. Softening. Good. Picking up some of that. Oh, now look how funny his lip looks. Gotta rein that back in. It's like a subtle transition. But that darker value really is nice. I'll pull out his chin and mop this up softer. Look at like he's got a toothache. Don't panic. Okay, gotta add some more darks. You gotta keep your sense of humor with this too. I'm telling you, this portrait stuff is tricky business. Under here, yeah, it's really dark. Ah. Maybe I'm gonna, yeah, get a little bit more of this. Yeah, which sort of plays in. I didn't really see that before. That really plays in. do these other dark shapes. Just keep dropping it in. Keeping it soft. Watching where the paint starts to move. Pushing it, soften it up. Come and go. Oh my gosh, I could do this all day. Dragging it down, looking where that chin, where that lines up. Making sure it's in the right place before I go for it. One a little bit. Over here, right? And I'll put it in kind of bold. Aw, he looks a little melancholy in my version. That looks pretty good. Okay, okay, the other thing I gotta do is I gotta put some color right here. I mean, there's more than that I could do, but this is at white, so I just need, look at that. What? Sort of forgot that when I was painting. And while I'm at it, I'll put a little bit more color up here. Again, if you're doing a correction, you might be able to use, you know, some of that somewhere. Right? Add a little bit of that color up into his eye, side of his face, and soften it. And it just disappears. Look at that. Keep tweaking. It's a little darker here. Maybe this goes down a little bit more subtly. Oh yeah. Okay, done with Danny. Done with Danny for now. But I think I did good. So just very quickly to this guy, I corrected his eyes. Remember that? And I'm just gonna do another round on his face. And all I'm gonna do, my whole goal is just to give him more pigment. So I'm very, very loose burnt sienna, and I'm gonna go in. And all my marks that I already painted are not gonna go away. They're established and I can count on them. You see that? All that painting, those strokes are still there. And that's the beauty of watercolors. It's transparent. You'll be able to see what you did underneath. No pigment on here. Okay. And I'm gonna lighten here a little bit, lighten here. Oh, got some interesting things going on here. Just watch what's happening with the paint. I'm a blotter. I admit it. There we go. His face is darker. I don't have to really do anything. There's some light patches around his mouth, which I actually think I like it because it makes them come forward a little bit. I'm going to take a tiny bit of orange. And just remember I said this was too warm, so I'm going to add a little, I'm sorry, too cool. I'm going to add a little warmth up here underneath. In there, just drama, baby. And the ears can be a little bit redder, and the tip of the nose is already redder, but I'm going to do a little bit more. Good. All right, that's it. I'm done for now. Thanks for watching. If you have watched the whole thing, It's interesting to paint and talk at the same time. But I hope this was informative. Use all your tools, all your tricks, and don't decide too soon where it ends or where it succeeded or where it might have failed or whatever. As long as there's breath in your body and your paper holds out, you can keep tweaking, especially with these drawing tools. And it's really fun. Don't forget what I said at the top. Make the correction and then get rid of the old information. Okay? All right. See you till next time for more conspiracy. Bye.